in the 1980s and in the early 90s, if you were for spending money on education and investing in our kids and trying to target investment to generate more jobs, well, that didn't make you some crazy left-wing liberal. That made you somebody who had pretty good sense when you woke up in the morning. Guaranteed a lot of attention by having your governor's race in the year after a president's race, when only New Jersey does it. Then you doubled your pleasure this year by nominating two very interesting candidates with wildly different approaches. Virginia has the choice between two people and a choice between two approaches and a choice between two different sets of positions on the issues. I believe when you elect Terry governor, he will be wildly popular, and a year from now, lots of people who voted against him will wonder what they were thinking on election day. This difference in approach really matters. There are people who with all their heart believe that if they don't push this country as far to the right as they can, restricting government's involvement in education, healthcare, and economic development, and increasing government's involvement in our personal lives, that they will somehow have abandoned us to the dark fate. They really believe that. And the only way to get results with complicated problems that have a lot of moving parts is to get everybody together and hammer out an honorable compromise and then figure out what are you going to do. At some point you've got to stop talking and start doing. But I do know this. I know that the test of every person who ever spent time in public service, down deep inside, who was focused on the people that he or she represented and their journeys through life, not his journey to the next headline. The test is always the same. Are people better off when you quit than when you started? The job of a governor at any time, but especially at this time, has to be focused on economics and education. On how do you get more jobs? How do you change the job mix so you can raise incomes? And then how do you prepare people, starting in preschool, all the way through? Second thing I know is that no matter who's the president or what the policy is, no matter how tough it is or how good it is, once you get out of Washington, the person who can do the most to try to create new opportunities is the governor. In 2008 and 2012, 72% of the registered voters of Virginia showed up to vote in the presidential election. You know what the number was in 2009 in the governor's race? 40%. A full third of your people, And the same thing happens in midterm elections. In 2014, when all the House members are up for election, a third of the Senate's up for election, more than half of the states elect their governors, a huge number of the state legislators are up for election. And a different America shows up. One of the reasons that it seems that we are so polarized is that we don't have uniformity of voting participation. So here's the kicker. It doesn't count if you're for him if you don't show. I can't tell you how many elections have been determined by people who were the choice of something other than the majority. But it all starts with making sure that the same America shows up in every election. You can have one America showing up every time we have a presidential election, and then when you have your governor's races, and then we have the congressional races, the other races next year, have a whole other Virginia show up, a whole other Arkansas show up, a whole other New York show up. It happens everywhere in America. Don't kid yourself. Look, Terry McAuliffe is my friend. If he was 50 points behind, that would be. He is my